Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into two rivers that pretty much break all the rules of Indian geography, the Narmada and the Tapi. You see, while most of peninsular India's rivers head east, these two giants decide to carve their own path west. And if you're prepping for the civil services exam, well, understanding this anomaly is absolutely essential.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll tackle the big question. Why on earth do they flow west? Then, we're going to trace the incredible journey of the Narmada, and right after that, its parallel twin, the Tapi. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of their tributaries, and then wrap it all up with the key takeaways you want to have in your back pocket for exam day.
Okay, so let's kick things off with that fundamental puzzle. In a part of the country that generally slopes to the east, how did these two massive rivers end up flowing in the opposite direction?
Now, if you look at a map of peninsular India, you'll see a very clear pattern. Almost all the big players, the Godavari, the Krishna, the Mahanadi, they all head east and drain into the Bay of Bengal. And that totally makes sense, because the Deccan Plateau itself has a gentle tilt from west to east. But then you have these two rebels, the Narmada and the Tapi. They just cut right against the grain, heading straight for the Arabian Sea. So what's going on here? Well, the reason isn't the slope of the land, it's the very structure of the earth beneath them.
And the answer, in two words, is Rift Valley. You see, both the Narmada and the Tapi are classic examples of rivers flowing through a kind of geological trench, a block of land that is sunk between two faults. This feature is what forces them to flow west, and believe me, this is a must-know concept for your geography papers.
All right, so now let's actually trace this geological story on a map, and we'll start with the Narmada, which is the bigger and more northern of these two rivers.
The Narmada's epic journey kicks off way up in the Maikala Range, near a place called Amarkantak in Madhya Pradesh. We're talking an elevation of over 1,000 meters, and from there, it begins its long westward march to the sea.
Okay, pay attention here because this is classic exam material. Just picture this in your mind. The Narmada River is perfectly squeezed into a valley between two huge hill ranges. You've got the Vindhyas to the north and the Satpuras to the south. It's literally a river flowing in a trough. So over its full length of 1,312 kilometers, it spends most of its time in Madhya Pradesh. Then it actually forms the border between MP and Maharashtra for a bit, then between Maharashtra and Gujarat, before finally flowing into Gujarat to reach the sea.
And here's what's so cool about this. This geological boundary also created a cultural one. For centuries, people have thought of the Narmada as the traditional dividing line between North India and the Deccan Peninsula of the south.
Okay, so we've got the Narmada down. Now let's jump over to its twin, the Tapi River, which you'll see follows an almost perfectly parallel path just south of it. You know, this description is just perfect. People call the Tapi the twin or the handmaid of the Narmada, and that really captures their relationship. It's another west-flowing river that's been shaped by the exact same geological forces. Just like its twin, the Tapi also starts in Madhya Pradesh, though a bit lower down, and it follows the same pattern, flowing between two sets of hills. And check this out. To its north, you have the Satpura Range. That's the exact same range that forms the Narmada's southern boundary. And to the south of the Tapi, you'll find the Ajanta and Satmala Hills. And as the river flows out of those hilly areas and into Maharashtra, everything changes. It opens up to create these broad, incredibly fertile plains called Khandesh. It's this transition that makes the region such an agricultural powerhouse. So here's the grand finale for both rivers. After these long, separate, but remarkably parallel journeys, they both meet the Arabian Sea at the exact same place, the Gulf of Cambay, right there on the coast of Gujarat. All right, let's talk tributaries. You know this is huge for the prelims. They love to ask questions that test if you can tell different river systems apart. So let's break them down side by side.
This table is your best friend. Now, don't feel like you have to memorize every single name here. Just focus on recognizing the major players. For the Narmada, look for names like Kolar and Orsong on the right bank and the big one, Tawa, on the left. For the Tapi, key names to know are Porna and Girna on the left bank. Getting familiar with these will give you a real edge.
And just a quick look at the numbers here tells you a lot about their scale. The Narmada, being the much bigger river, has a whopping 41 tributaries feeding it, compared to the Tapi's 14 major ones.
This map really brings that whole network to life. You can literally see how all these streams are flowing down from the slopes of the Vindhyas on one side and the Satpuras on the other, all feeding into the main river as it powers its way through that valley.
Okay, let's pull it all together. Think of this as your final power pack for the prelims. This is the stuff you absolutely want to have locked in your memory before you walk into that exam hall.
First, a super simple visual comparison. It's pretty clear, right? The Narmada, at 1,312 kilometers, is the big sibling here. It's almost double the length of the 724-kilometer Tapi.
And this table right here, this is your ultimate cheat sheet. Seriously, if you remember one thing from today, make it this. And I'm going to say it one more time. Pay very close attention to those bounding ranges, Vindhya and Satpura for the Narmada, Satpura and Ajanta for the Tapi. That is a very, very common place they try to trip you up on the exam.
And we'll leave you with this final thought. It's pretty amazing when you think about it, isn't it? How these rivers, simply by following a crack in the Earth's crust, did more than just carve a landscape. In a way, they helped draw the cultural and historical line between North and South India.